A construction defect is a deficiency in the design of a building, a deficiency in the construction or workmanship, or a failure of a system or a component in a building, which causes damage to personal property or causes physical damage and possibly financial harm to an association or a condominium. In other words, the building was not built as originally anticipated and a component or a part of it failed in a short period of time. The board first, they usually have an attorney on staff, but the first step is to do a transition engineering report. And what is a transition engineering report? Is when a builder builds a building and it conveys that ownership to an association or a board. When the association takes over the ownership of the building or the control of the building, they normally perform a transition study which evaluates all the building systems, the roofing, the facades, the boilers, all the interior of the building, the exterior of the building, all the building systems, and you get this report, and this report tells you whether it meets code, did it meet the original design drawing. So first, it's a comprehensive study of the entire building and the facilities associated with that. The next step, if there's a major problem that is uncovered during this process, we do an invasive investigation to determine the extent of the problem. So we test the boilers or we test the facades, we do probes and find out what is the extent of the damage, what is the extent of the problem in this building. And so we review the original design drawings, we review the construction documents, we review the building code, and we write an expert report that talks about the defects, the cost to cure those defects, and what code violations or industry standards or the drawings that were filed with the municipality, whether they were followed or not. And it's very important to the success of a litigation or a claim is really based on the degree of investigation, how well it's done. Did you follow certain standards with respect to the investigation, certain procedures and protocols? And did you do enough investigation to make the determination that there's a major problem with the building? I think it's very important that construction defect litigation cases are something called the statutes of limitations. And that's a period of time, and it varies from state to state, when you can bring action against a designer, against the builder, against various subcontractors. So in New Jersey, for example, the statute of repose is 10 years. So you have a 10-year period in which you can bring action against the builder or the developer in the communities. Every state has different statutes of limitations for various things. So you really have to, number one, when you say, I have a defect case, first thing is, where are you located? When did you uncover this? And all these factors come into play on whether you can bring action against the builder or the design professionals. What we find is that many new buildings today are not built properly. A lot of defects in new construction. I'm talking about buildings that are 5 years old, 3 years old. And with proper investigation, you can identify these things and try to get recourse to the condominium, to the association, if you hire a team of experts to go through your building and assess it, because this damage could be in the millions of dollars. So we're working currently right now on 27 different litigation cases. And some of these buildings are 5 years old. I mean, we're talking about high-rise buildings that noise transmission through the walls is a problem because they didn't provide this proper sound barrier. We're talking about high-rise buildings that weren't built with non-combustible, they're built with combustible materials. So in the event of a fire, you could have a problem. I'm talking about really, there's a lack of quality control, quality inspections to make sure that the construction meets code. And the building code is the minimum safety standard. If you can't meet code, then that building there's a problem with safety. structural, fire, a number of issues. So what we're finding today is the newer buildings today don't have that quality control. They have many, many, many problems, particularly when we're dealing with multi-family buildings. I'm very, very surprised, but there isn't no quality control. There's no incentive for the builders to police themselves, and there's no third party like a municipality that they're supposed to inspect and look out for you. Well, they're not. First of all, the municipalities, they have no liability. Whether they inspect it or not is something else, but you can't go after a municipality. So there's no third-party inspections that's looking out for the homeowner, for the condominium owner, for the co-op owner, to assure them that they got what they paid for. So we're looking at, I'm thinking specifically of one project where it's $1 million apartment, spectacular views, and people buy it because of the view. Well, people can't sleep there because of the noise at night, because of the windows, they leak. And when there's a strong storm, they got water damage in their unit. And I just spoke with somebody yesterday who was sick for 10 years because of mold. Mold inside the walls. And he was sick. He got so sick. And he didn't understand what was happening. What was happening was that he had a terrible water intrusion problem and a mold problem where he lived. And those kind of issues need to be investigated as early as possible, so you have the possibility of financial recourse with the legal system. But buyer beware.